There are some sounds that are so powerful, they don't just go with a movie, they become the movie in your memory. Just a couple of notes can throw you into a different galaxy or, make you terrified of the ocean. Today, we're diving into the work of the man who basically wrote the soundtrack to all of our childhoods.
Okay, think about this for a second. The sound of a lightsaber battle in deep space. A kid on a broomstick flying over a castle. A giant brachiosaurus, seeing one for the very first time. I mean, these are three completely different, totally unique worlds, right? And yet, they're all connected in our minds by this epic musical thread. So, what's the connection?
You hear that first blast of brass, bam, and you are instantly in a galaxy far, far away. The music in Star Wars isn't just some background noise. It's the soul of the saga. It's the grand, sweeping emotion of the whole thing.
And then you've got the theme for Jurassic Park. It's so majestic, it's almost spiritual. The music just swells with this incredible sense of awe and wonder, and it makes you believe 100% that dinosaurs are right there, walking in front of you.
And come on, who could forget that mischievous, magical little twinkle of Hedwig's theme? That music is the sound of getting your letter to Hogwarts. It's the key that unlocks that whole world of magic for us.
So, the answer? Well, of course, it's that one single person is behind all of these unforgettable soundscapes, the absolute legend, John Williams. He is the architect, the composer of the sounds that have defined, generations of us movie lovers.
Now, to really understand Williams's insane impact, we've got to go back a bit, back to the 70s and 80s. Because this was the time when his partnerships with two incredible directors didn't just create great movies, they completely changed how movies were made forever.
You see, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, they weren't just making films. They were building modern-day myths. And John Williams, he gave those myths a voice. His work with them totally redefined what a film score could do. It went from just being background music to being a main character in the story.
And the sheer scale of his work during this period is just staggering. I mean, look at this list. In less than 10 years, he scored one massive cultural icon after another. This is the period where John Williams basically invented the sound of the modern blockbuster as we know it.
So, what's the secret sauce? How does he do it? What makes his music stick in your head for decades? Well, to figure that out, we've got to break down the genius behind the notes, the core ideas that make a John Williams score so incredibly powerful.
Okay, a lot of it starts with this one powerful technique, the leitmotif. Now, it sounds fancy, but it's a pretty simple idea. It's a short, recurring musical theme that gets attached to a person, a place, or even an idea. Think of it like a musical nickname. It's a genius shortcut that skips your brain and goes right to your emotions.
And oh man, his use of this is just legendary. The second you hear that adventurous Raiders march, you see Indiana Jones cracking his whip. That booming, ominous Imperial march. You know without a doubt Darth Vader just walked into the room. Williams literally gives heroes their theme music and villains their terrifying entrance song.
But here's the thing. His genius isn't always about these huge, complicated symphonies. Take Jaws. He created one of the scariest themes in film history using just 2 notes. Dun, dun. That's it. When he first played it for Steven Spielberg on a piano, Spielberg actually laughed out loud because he thought Williams was pulling his leg. But Williams knew, sometimes the simplest ideas hit the hardest.
So what do you call this style? Well, the music nerds call it neo-romantic. But in simple terms, he basically brought back that huge, emotional, full orchestra sound of old-school Hollywood. He took inspiration from the classical greats to create these rich, complex scores that somehow felt both totally timeless and perfectly new.
But here's the thing. If you only think of John Williams as a movie guy, you're really missing a huge piece of the puzzle. His work in the world of classical music is just as important.
I mean, for 13 years, he was the principal conductor for the legendary Boston Pops Orchestra. He's the guy who wrote those soaring themes for 4 different Olympic Games. That theme you hear on NBC News, that's him too. And on top of all that, he's written tons of classical concertos. He is a true maestro, through and through.
All right, so to really get the full picture of his legacy, you just have to look at the numbers. And let me tell you, the numbers behind this legend are absolutely mind-blowing.
54. Just let that sink in for a second. 54 Academy Award nominations. That makes him the most nominated living person on the planet and second only to Walt Disney in the entire history of the Oscars. The man's been nominated for an Oscar in 7 different decades. That's just unreal.
And it's not just about awards, right? It's about his sheer cultural dominance. He scored the music for 9 of the top 25 biggest box office hits of all time in the US. Think about that. When you hear a blockbuster, there's a really good chance you're hearing the work of John Williams.
And the list of his honors, it's just wild. He was the first composer to ever get the AFI Life Achievement Award. He's got a Kennedy Center honor, 27 Grammys, 5 Oscars. He was even given an honorary knighthood by Queen Elizabeth II. The man is, simply put, a global treasure. But you know, maybe the story that best captures his genius comes from his greatest collaborator. After Steven Spielberg showed him the final cut of Schindler's List, Williams was so moved, so shaken, he didn't think he could possibly do it justice. He humbly turned to Spielberg and said, "I really think you need a better composer than I am for this film."
And Spielberg's simple, perfect reply, it says everything you need to know about the one-of-a-kind, irreplaceable talent of John Williams. He just looked at him and said, "I know, but they're all dead." And what a perfect testament that is to a living legend who is still, to this day, scoring the soundtrack of our lives.